Right, all right, man. Thank you so much for joining the show today, Stephen.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
Man, it's so good to see you again and talk it up with you about some really hot topics. And so today, we decided to do this topic for Black History. It's going to be on progression, truth unfolded. I mean, we need to talk about the real facts because there's a lot going on right now. It's been going on for centuries, but it's important that we know our real history. And even in
Yes.
2023, a lot of people still don't know their real history. All they know is Martin Luther King, Harriet Tubman, Sojourner Truth. What's the George Washington, Carver? Who else?
And see, when you say George Washington Carver, I'm like, now a true African American person would be able to name everything that he created, because if you just know the name, that's not the same thing as knowing what progression he made through life.
Now, George Washington Carver went through a lot, right? Like he
Oh yeah.
was obviously a slave. He was a slave at one point. The guy was so intelligent, he was able to manipulate the peanut and create a variety of different things with it, as well as the sweet potato. Well, something that a lot of people don't know about him, he got his genitals removed because his slave owner thought that he was trying to sleep with his daughter. So these are some truths about people that we learned about as children in elementary school, right? Middle school. That's important to know that this man's testicles were removed. And by the way, it wasn't true. He wasn't trying to sleep with his daughter. There's a lot of mutilation that's gone on in the past that's not being talked about, and it needs to be brought to the forefront.
Yep, you're absolutely right. And because we haven't focused, see, what I want to focus on is more the here and now of how the perception of African Americans are in general, because the standards of how people are judged are not equal, in the eyes. And that's something that needs to have, change,
The
you
question
know.
is, how is it going to change
Well,
when
first,
even we ourselves think so low of each other?
and see, African American males need to think more highly of themselves, and I like to perceive that most of them do. So, when I think of the target put on their back, African American males, especially ones that have achieved well, it's a large target. It's a large target, and they're
But
in
the
a
question is,
small.
like, how do we change that perception? Because you think about it, reality is all in a person's perception, right? What you do day to day, what you believe in, what's your moral compass, right? But
Yeah.
the problem is that a lot of us don't even have morale. Like we're just out here following what we see.
Now, see, working together with you, you knew how my morale was, because I used to talk about ethics. You have to do things ethically, and you have to be compliant. There's things set in place for you to follow in order to be compliant. As long as you do those two things, no, a customer against you should never stick.
Yeah, that's a good point. Now we're talking. That's like a totally different level, though. Like you're thinking about. Well, when you say that, I think about professionalism, work ethic. But we're talking about day to day living in society.
Yep. And there is a perception on us. Every one of these deaths, not starting with, but George Floyd, when that name is said anywhere, it's like, oh, that was a messed up situation. I
Yeah,
take
absolutely.
offense to presidents not coming to funerals of civil rights leaders that and saying a word for someone at their death. That's very disrespectful.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. But there's been so much disrespect over the centuries. Thank you so much for joining in, Tay. Man, this young king is out here doing it. Make sure you go find him on Facebook. That name that you see right there across that screen, he's doing so much positivity in the black and brown community. Keep doing what you're doing. Thank you. But getting back to what we're saying, there's so much disrespect, as it relates to the black and brown individuals in our communities and our culture. But yet, something I've always talked about and I've said, a lot of people, they love the idea of blackness. They love the idea of the African American culture, but nobody actually wants to be black. And what I mean by that, nobody wants to inherit the struggle of being black and brown, but you want to capitalize off of the culture. And that is a fact. Have you not noticed that, Stephen?
Well, yes, I've noticed that historically in corporate America in general, in other arenas especially, there's a stigmatism on our race that makes us instantly under a microscope and a target. You know, and what I would like to see is how in our community that we open our eyes and realize the world and how they look up to our ability. You know,
Right. Well,
I
there's like, I feel like we live in this illusion as if, like, oh, well, yeah, black people are capable too. Duh. Black people built the foundations of the
of
world,
the
not just this
country.
country.
Well, and specifically though, when you talk about this country, what our government in these times owe us for slavery has not been paid. And in my
Right.
eyes,
But
I'm
first,
not going to say never,
before we
but
talk about pay, though, we have to think about, well, some people might say, well, what have you done to get paid? I think we should open this conversation up with starting there. What do you think?
well, and I think that education, like education being available to us in general, you know, because where our country is going is undoing some of the things that we fought years and years to do. So, what we need to do is be diplomatic and learn that there's other parts of the world that help us run. And we here need to stop fighting over the things. There's a growing number of homeless, and then you have the class system within these you know states. We need to come together, and it needs to be one thought on, and it's not necessarily militant. That's why I brought up Martin Luther King Jr., because the peaceful way was fast and resolute as well, and people knew to take you serious about civil rights and about just unity in general. I wanted to be taken serious about a lot of things when it came to my race, because coming up, you know the stigma was, who are your role models? And my role models were MJ, my dad. you know I mean, and I had a lot of role models, but MJ was definitely one, because meeting him a couple of times was just, I mean, interacting with him and shaking it, playing with him, it was so cool and so surreal, that I knew that there was people out here that if they were a billionaire, I could strive to be that. And all my friends will tell you, and what my cousin calls me a billionaire all the time, and I'm just like, that's how we have to think. We cannot think the way that they want us to think, because anything that's pointed towards us is of violence is multiplied by 20, by 50. you know the violence in Chicago, where I'm from, during the summertime is atrocious. It's atrocious.
Yeah, I've been to Chicago once, and yeah, huh. Yeah,
They
I
man,
was scared to go to the west side. Like I stayed downtown area the whole time.
no,
I was scared
yeah.
to cross that line
You
because
know what? Oh God, so I want to tell you, I was rolling down Madison Avenue
uh-huh.
and I saw a black Lamborghini out the corner of my eye, and I looked, and I was like, that looked like Twister. And I rolled. I was like, that is Twister. So I rolled.
Yeah.
That was cool. But you better believe in my mind for a good though in a good peaceful moment, I was like, he's strapped at least. I know he got something in the
And you
trunk.
have to be, and it's unfortunate that we've become this way towards each other, but it's just years of
It's
trauma,
been like that for years though. And
trauma
it's like
introduced stuff.
I hate when ministers come on there and try to say stuff like, yeah, it's a truce going on. Man, what are you talking about, dude? You ain't never been to Chicago if you talk about it's a truce.
It's so much that can be said on this show, but I won't even go there. Let's get back to that mindset though that you were talking about because that's key, right? You know, you are what you believe. You are exactly what you believe. If you believe you're nothing, you will be nothing. If you believe you're someone, you will be someone. And I feel like we're finally breaking that barrier of understanding how valuable it is to uplift yourself and have positive thoughts, have positive affirmations for yourself, your family, people that you care about. But it's also important not to worry about how other people view you either. And I think a lot of our time as a culture has been spent on caring about what others think about us. That's not important. As long as you're focusing on you and you're obtaining your goals, you're striving and you're smashing and accomplishing the goals that you set for yourself in your life, everything else will fall into place. There is a higher power in order, in my belief. And there's nothing that can stop you as long as you stay the course. But if you allow distractions to get in your way, if you allow others who don't deem you as the most positive and the most uplifting individual in the world, then you will succumb to what others think of you. And I think that has been a repetitive, deadly cycle for most of our culture for the last couple of decades.
And the what bothers me is like we have to learn when to keep a handle on things. Like just in my now being in this person's position, I can tell you that I might have reacted the same way he did. But when Will Smith did what he did, I was like, dude, you could have just not did that and got the Grammy. And but then that kind of rage would turn into somebody losing their life because of what a man would say about another person's wife. We talking about their wife.
Yeah, but see, that's more celebratory. I'm talking about like regular, everyday people. We're not talking about celebrities. We're talking about in on this. Okay. Yes, let me just stop and pause. Let's give homage to people like Will Smith and all the other black celebrities who have made it. They're millionaires or multimillionaires. Some of them are even billionaires, like Kanye West. Shout out to him for really getting on his platforms and
I
telling
was
the
just
truth about
thinking
a
about
lot
him.
of things. And
Yeah.
then, as a result of him being so honest and straightforward about his beliefs, about what has actually happened to him, and some experiences that he's had as his level, he has
Yeah.
been able to
Yeah.
be summoned back by Adidas. So it's really his choice whether or not he wants to go back and be
Isn't
the
that
face of
nice?
that platform, which goes back to
Hmm.
my point from the beginning, is that a lot of people love our culture. A lot of people enjoy it. A lot of people profit from it. But nobody wants to inherit the struggle. What I'm saying is 100% facts. Whether you agree or disagree to me, I'm talking to the audience. Everybody knows it's the truth. When Kanye West went out here and blasted his truth, a lot of people were against him. Some people could see, the points that he was making. If he was so wrong, guys, why did Adidas call him back? Think about it. Why did they call
Well,
him back? Why? Because he has a
he has a
significant
lot of power.
influence on the
Hmm.
world, not just this nation. He has an impactful influence on the globe, people.
And he'll rap about it too. So,
He knows
which
how to reach you at different angles.
and that's what I'm saying. Like time for everything, but my focus is education. My focus is my daughter having her talent shown. She was Peter Pan in the play, which that was a musical. It was great. And then people were coming up to us and like, just saying her principal was like, where's the talent? Whoa, he was good. it was funny. But she's also in the band, and she also is a star in dance, and she led her class in spelling in the spelling bee. So this is a. I'm like, all right, you doing some things, okay? Now it's time to pave that foundation, but she's gonna do it, not me. I'm just there.
Very good point.
You know.
And then shout out to your family, like, because it takes men, right, to be the logic and to bring that protection and that comfort into the families. And that's something that has also been broken in our culture. Like, there's been a lot of situations, scenarios, movies, media, everything that has been placed in front of us to divide families as well. So, you have to understand how much our culture has been under attack for centuries, but it is all in how we respond to this media or silent attack that's been going on, like I said, for a very, very long time. And but yet, while we're under all this suppressed and oppressive energy, we're still able to make significant progress. That's
And
just
that's
a lot about what kind of people we are.
that's what you want to see is progress. I practice. Craig Robinson taught me how to play by ear. I don't even know if he acts like every time I remind him of that he forgot, but he showed me how to play by ear, play the piano by ear. And so I practice, and I can play, "Heaven Can Wait" by Michael Jackson right now. Just like, and you would be like, "What?" It's because my daughter is talented that way too. And she one time was like, "Daddy, write this song for me." I'm like, "What?" Like, you okay, well, if I write this song, you gonna sit down here and this is how we gonna do it, you know. So I want to see the talent of all of it. God gave us all talent, so we have to use it and stop sitting up on that mess and get going. Your life is so valuable because God says so. We have worth because God says so.
Yeah, absolutely. And that word starts from knowing who you are, right? So I'm just gonna get straight into it. I have some content that I want to share with you guys, and I hope that it opens up some eyes for the people who are going to be watching this show today. If you're just tuning in, make sure you like, share, comment, and subscribe. Guys, I'm going to teach you about somebody, and his name, let me scroll up to the top, is Jerry Lawson. In case you have never heard of this man, Jerry Lawson was a black engineer back in the day and also an entrepreneur who changed video games for the world. Like, you can literally see the URL if you want to go check this out yourself. So, this guy, he grew up in Brooklyn. I know Brooklyn was hard back in the 1940s. I don't even want to, it's hard now. I don't even want to imagine what it was like in the 40s. So that's where he grew up. It looks like they were telling some little information about his parents. So his father, Blanton, was a long horseman or a longshoreman who devoured science books. So that means, his father was pretty intelligent. He did a couple of different jobs in the neighborhood. And Jerry, he got his inspiration from George Washington Carver. We were just talking about that earlier, Stephen. I just listed out that name and it came back up again. So it says here that Lawson learned the value of Black ingenuity at an early age. And at a predominantly white school, of course, he found his hero, and that was George Washington Carver. And so that's pretty cool because I didn't even know that about Jerry Lawson. And this is a full image of him working as a black engineer back in the day. So, there have always been talented black people and brown people. It's just so funny how, like, in the 1980s and 1990s, how they really dumbed down the, like, all of the contributions that our cultures have made throughout the centuries. Here's like a work photo of Jerry Lawson. And so let's talk about the gaming, why he's so famous in Black history. So, garage gaming. So, it says here in the early 1970s, most electronic games were only available on mainframe computers in the university labs. So, Lawson outfitted his own digital equipment corporation, PDP 8, microcomputer, in his garage and played the space themed text only game Lunar Lander. So if you're like old school, you'll know what video game I'm talking about. I've never played it, but I'm pretty sure a lot of you that's going to tune in later, you guys will know what I'm talking about. So the first mass-produced arcade video game, the Cosmic Shooter computer space game, came out in 1971. Now, this motivated Lawson to build his own game. So, powered by Fairchild's F8, microprocessor Demolition Derby, never went into production. But the feat caught the attention of his colleagues, meaning they were like, "Oh shoot, this dude was able to create this on his own." Okay. Then in 1975, Fairchild tapped Lawson to lead the team responsible for transforming an Alpex Computer Corporation prototype into the first cartridge-based home video game system. Let me ask you something real quick. Do you remember playing Nintendo?
Yes, I
You
do.
have to blow the cartridge and put it back into the Nintendo?
Man, we used to. Now I was in the hood for real, so we used to set stuff in it to make sure. And I had it. They used to come to me like they would always like, Steve know how to set up a thing, so go get him. If he gonna play, ask him if he gonna play first. And then I'd be like, look, this is how I do it. Look, see mine. This is how it is, and I set that in there like that, and they'd be like, Chink.
Right.
Oh, it worked, and I'm like, what I tell you?
That's too funny. But yeah,
Yeah.
so like this dude is the reason for it all. So like Lawson, he used these printed circuit board and game cartridge prototypes to refine the console and its games. So this is an example, right, of your prototype that he created. Because he was an engineer, dude. He was an engineer.
And which
Like,
is what we want all of our young African American males to strive to be in the door. Look at how quickly you can get into that career and go for it. And
yes,
loan forgiveness this year, president's forgiving plenty of student loans this year. And my
absolutely.
sister told me about that. She's a marketing
Q-tip and
director.
alcohol.
Yeah, I'm a plug to marketing director for University of Chicago Medical Center. Yes, she is. She's the top. I love this young lady, my sister. I would shout her out all day. So,
Yeah, and this is a old shout out to her because it's a lot of people like her that are out here making major moves, and it needs to be talked about more.
there were commercials in Chicago pertaining to Kobe when Kobe hit. She orchestrated all of that.
Oh wow, that's crazy.
The people
But we're
she
gonna
and
stop. We're not gonna say the c word because you know how they are about that here.
well,
Anyway,
no, I get it. No,
right?
think about it. It's mind-boggling that somebody that age can accomplish those things. But I saw her do that when she was 6.
See, look at that. That's crazy. Now, and then it's also crazy to see these old school cartridges too. I mean, this is like the old school video cartridge before Sega, Nintendo,
Oh
Super
yeah, I
Mario
remember
Brothers
that
came out.
one.
Like this is just wild to me. This is so old school. But
Mm,
Jerry Lawson, guys, is the person that you want to thank for this. Look at that. This is so
beautiful.
funny because I mean we've come a long way, but guys, you have to be able to realize and recognize and acknowledge that a black man is the person who was the head of creating this video cart. Channel L Video Cart One. That's wild to me, right? So just so people who just tuned in, I'm gonna show you who Jerry Lawson body image of him. See if I can get back to it. Because a lot of people don't know this. Like, and it's crazy because they only teach you about certain people in school. Like, you guys have to do your own research to find these people. That's Jerry
Which is
Lawson.
what I
I
recommend. We
appreciate
need to do our own research. I
Yeah,
recommend that.
absolutely. I
I
appreciate
mean,
Jerry though, because I spent many days and nights playing video games as a child. But but yeah, I just wanted to show that because I mean that's Black history.
mm,
Like that's
we
recent Black
do you,
history.
this is
1970.
how essential it is to point this out. Like, really, the people who are being murdered for no reason, busted in with by the feds on accident, those have to go, punished. What I'm saying is we need to set a precedent because learning about what we're responsible for gives us that courage and that understanding and knowledge and strength
Right.
to be able to stand up in this world and take what's ours.
Absolutely.
And when I say take what's ours, I mean what's out in front of you individually on your plate, because God does put things on our plate, and makes a way. So we have to then honor that, you know, and push forward,
Absolutely. I want to
you know.
share some more information with you guys too, since we're on this topic of pretty cool, awesome Black people who have contributed to society, but you guys just, for some reason, just don't know about it because either you didn't research it or it just was never taught to you. So I want to see if I can share this photo. Give me one moment here. Okay, yeah, Miss Katrina Parrott. Can you see that? I just want to make sure everybody can see.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I
She's the
can.
one, yeah, she's the one who's responsible for the black and brown and the different color emojis. Like, I'll put it back up. Sorry. Yeah, so like if it wasn't for her, here's the thing though. Here's a kicker about this whole situation with her. So she created the idea or the concept of, hey, there's only white or pale emojis. There's no emojis out there with color, like, the thumbs up or the muscle man, or you know what I mean?
Yes.
Like the praying hands or the high five, like they're all white. And clearly there's black and brown people all,
That's what
all
I'm
over the world.
thoughtful. It's very thoughtful.
So here's the saddest part about her situation currently. So even though she's the person who initially came up with the idea, she created the emojis. A lot of businesses and corporations took her ideas and concepts and implemented them right away. Now that they're making money, not her, but them, the corporations are making money off of the colored emojis, she can't even get a patent for her original idea. So you see, much like history repeating itself, she's created this fantastic idea, this inclusive, profitable idea. Big Corp took over, and they're the ones that's making bank off of her ideas. And she can't even get a patent for her own idea. Make it make sense.
From and see, mm, and but what you take home from that is that those genius thoughts and the quickness of how she did that. I prefer the country be in the hands of people like that, rather than people that tell us it's okay to drink bleach and uh, uh
I see where you're going with that. But my point
no,
is to
not
bringing
drinking
it up was
bleach.
the fact that, guys, when you have these amazing ideas, you have all of this talent, you need to make sure you understand business. Make sure that you patent your idea. And if you don't have the money to patent the idea, don't go out making or creating the idea until you're able to legally protect it. Same way with logos, businesses, make sure you trademark. There's people out here taking businesses from underneath minorities every single day. And there's nothing that you can do about it if you
You
did not go through the lawful process of protecting what you own.
Right, and if you want to see good examples, go to Oklahoma, because the black community's businesses, how they're set up, are unbelievable, beautiful. Like look like something out here when I go to downtown Gilbert, or you know. And I'm gonna tell y'all, I've seen Brian Erlacher out here a couple times too. The fact that he can hide in plain sight, to me, it just tickles me every time. It's like I was holding a triangle when I was taking the picture. I'm like, this big old dude. Well, we wasn't worried about nothing in that parking lot that night, you know. So you feel me? But yes, we need to be aware. That's the biggest thing to me, Danielle. You're muted. You muted. Yeah. So we
No,
have
I'm
to be
agreeing.
aware.
I'm listening. I'm
Yeah.
muting so I don't interrupt you.
Oh,
Yeah.
well, we have to be aware. If we can't, these things that are happening, it can happen to anyone, and to see people in the same scenario that I've been in, the guidance comes from, how do you rebound from that, or how do you build in that scenario, you know?
Yep.
And,
So, I mean, I'm just gonna keep on spewing out some more history facts since we're on this topic, because I mean, there's just so much that we don't know, and some of us don't even care, and that actually is the saddest part about it. So, I'm gonna quickly go through 40 facts about Black history that you might not know. So, number one, in 1870, Hiram Rose Rebels became the first African American elected to the U.S. Senate. So, you know how, like, in the 1900s, which that sounds like so far away. That wasn't that long ago. But in the 1900s, it was always rare to see someone of color in a position of power, whether as it relates to the government or corporations, things like that. But in actuality, there were people in place in powerful positions that were of color since the beginning of time, since inception. And that's the part of history that also is never taught in the public school systems. That is the reason why it's imperative that we teach our children and we also teach ourselves as adults to research information, because everything's not going to be provided to you, and there's a reason behind that. So I'm going to share my screen so you guys can see what I see, and I can go through the list with you guys together. So this is a picture of Hiram Rhodes. Can you guys see?
Yes, I can see that.
Is it sharing now? Okay, perfect. So this is
Hmm.
the guy who was elected to the U.S. Senate seat, which means he was a part of the group of people who were creating law, who was either modifying, amending, or generating new laws for the country. Even though it's just him, in 1870, there may have been more. I don't know. I haven't done research to find out. But, this is important to know. Number two is in 1905, W.E.B. Du Bois and William Monroe Trotter founded the Nicaragua, I'm sorry, yeah, movement, I'm sorry, precursor to the NAACP.
Yeah.
So
Hmm.
basically, they created a pre-organization to what is now called the NAACP. I didn't even know W.B. Du Bois
See
had
how that
anything to do.
works? Well, but now Du Bois. Okay, so you have to understand in Chicago, there's like schools and things named after W.E.B. Du Bois. He's like big, and Percy L. Jr., Edward Beasley. These are names that you just know for sure. The establishments that they set up initially blew people away because of how solid they were, how, what the forward progress of thinking of African Americans was and is currently at that point.
Absolutely. And at least you guys have those positive reminders. Speaking of different types of structures that exemplify and honor people's legacy, there has been since 2020 uh, a large amount of statues that have been removed. Statues like Christopher Columbus, many others that kind of go against the, I guess, flourishing nature of this country, because a lot of people were taught in school that Christopher Columbus discovered America. And we know now today in 2023 to say that is utterly ridiculous. There were people by the name of indigenous Americans that already inhabited this country. And they were overthrown because they were raped, killed, and mutilated in order to conquer this country. That is the brutal, honest truth. With that being said, as a result, within the last 2 or 3 years, a lot of people have been calling the city council to get these structures of terrorism removed, because that's exactly what they are. They are replications and illustrations of the demise of a civilization that once lived here peacefully before they were brutally attacked. And so I like the fact that people are finally seeing life is without the sugarcoating, without the politically correct. Because the truth of the matter is, the way that Black and brown cultures have been treated over the centuries has been completely wrong. We have been in complete
Completely.
violation for a very, very long time.
And let
And
my
it's
boy's
time.
mother say, we need our for real 40 acres and a mule. I love how she say that, because that's the correct way. Without you say there's no profanity on this show at all. We talking about seriousness though. We need that because that was promised to us for building this country. I do agree with her 100% on that. you know
Absolutely. So, and it's true, a lot of people don't even want you to talk about reparations, but yeah, I 100% agree. This is something that I always joke about, but I'm so for real about it. my $100,000 a year that I make is not going to work the same for me as it does for a person who has 100K plus, $200,000 to $300,000 in assets, liquid assets that they can flip
Right.
at any moment. Right? You get where I'm going with that, right? So
And
yeah,
it
you can look at me or the next person and say, "Dang, you making a lot of money." My money is to pay all these bills right now, though. So it's not working the same way. And once I pay those bills, that money is gone.
and see, the average black person, the perception is wrong, because what I like to see is us having things off GP. The struggle is how we manage our friendships because what's out here, because of corona, we were able to like kind of just self and do our internet connections with our own Apple TVs and stuff like that, so we could watch what we want. When we're invested into a 14 or a 13-year show, it makes you feel like the perception is I'm supposed to have things. I'm supposed to be able to stand on my own feet, whether it's be a doctor, a dentist, a realtor, something professional. Now, schooling is important there, but having children, as you can see on these shows, these people are overjoyed about that and highly protective, and so the real life part of it that's shown on TV, I think projects that into real people, so it kind of gets them to dive in. What I want though is for people to be aware of out here in society and make changes in society. I tell the seniors to complain about when they don't have options, because that's how they get options, by multiply complaining. And Florida leads the country in options because they've complained over the years the most.
When you say options, be more specific for people who are watching.
Options like more plans. When you're in an area that's rural or on the outskirts, you
You're
tend to
talking
have
about
fewer
medical
plans.
plans, correct?
Period. Yeah, whether it's ACA or Medicare in that case.
Okay.
Because ACA is a little different
So
because
just
it's
we'll just
newer,
call it
but
benefits, right? Benefits,
yeah, extra
right? And
benefits.
yeah, some people don't even think about that kind of stuff.
Hmm.
What I'm saying is, a lot of people in our culture don't think about the future and the fact that they're not going to be able to get up and go to work like they're doing right now. They're not going to be able to get up and hustle, and tend to all their multiple like job opportunities or residual income options that they have now in their younger years. So it's like, what are you going to do get older? So I love the fact that you encourage the older communities and you are advocate for them to get out there and really push to get what they deserve. But the reality of that, Stephen, you and I both know because we're in healthcare, it's almost impossible for areas, particularly the extremely low poverty areas, the benefits that they need because it's set up that way.
It's so true, and
I'll
and
leave
this
that
is
there
why.
because it's
See,
set up that way.
there are levels of
So
this
the
that
screen
anger
is
me,
still
and that's
sharing.
one
Did
of
you
them.
drop? Okay.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. Yeah, that's one of them that starts to spark a fire in me, because why is it set up that way? It should not be. And my father worked
Well, you
very
know
hard. An
why.
African American principal, Dr. Lawrence Turner, worked very hard to ensure that children had everything. And one time on the radio, I heard them hating on Horace Mann. Like it was me really listening. I was like, oh, but that's because those kids' scores were the highest in the city at that time. So, you know,
Mm,
hey, you see, he's a believer, and for me, it's like the progress. Like my friends love my parents, and they feed off of them. All my Facebook friends feed off of my parents that are close with them. So, and they pull on my mom. I'm telling you, with her sorority and everything, they pull on her. They pull on her. So, you know, I come from the do it, get it done. And so my goals in life are to be successful. And I have plenty of people in front of me who are currently being successful to kind of model and and perform things that will help me be ultimately successful where I want to be. So, and I encourage black
absolutely.
people to know their heritage. There's nothing wrong with that. It's nothing wrong with that. That should make you relate, number one, and be proud of something. Because we
Absolutely.
come up from not hating. Because around my hood, you couldn't hate on nobody. It wasn't even allowed. Like, we were so close, and I was the only one in the middle. It was either dudes 2 years older than me or 2 years younger than me. So I was cool with everybody.
Right. And I think where that hate or that divide or division, I should say, kind of comes about when you have one group of people who kind of they go off to college, they excel, they become somebody, right? They get these titles, they make decent money, and then they leave the other group kind of in behind, I guess, in a way.
Yeah,
So
in a way,
people are
but you
left with
have to cut
environment.
people. Okay, so let me explain that. When you are focused on raising your income level or raising your status level, you cannot let others feed off of you, because that takes away from the grit of what you're trying to plant. And
Facts.
then
I agree.
because my family knows, like my sister, I always tell her, we if I'm rich, you rich. That's how I tell her, because that's my sister. But she is successful in her own way, and she has smarts and money that I have just am so proud of. Just never dreamed she could. She has them, and I just am proud of her. So, looking at her accomplishments, I know she could be there too without me. You know what I mean? But you're supposed to look at your family like that. And you're supposed the
Yeah, for
older
sure. I'm with
parts of your
you.
family you're supposed to want to take care of, and not just leave astray, because it's kind of sad
Yeah.
when people don't have long-term care insurance set up. Yeah, their form of care in this country is not, and corona like just kind of in those areas passed corona around because of how interlinked our people were with spreading it. So it's very sad, but we can do better. I'm always thinking and uplifting myself off of how Black people have turned in scenarios like we can't get to the end of where it's a breakthrough and then it's not gonna work and then shatter the breakthrough. We have to actually go through it
Yeah,
to
facts.
the end. Once you have a breakthrough, because you can't be stopped when you have a breakthrough. There's and you pray, you stay reverent, and listen to God's Holy Spirit take and use you. Ask God. That's a very, to use you. That's a very, it's humbling, but it's also a very bold thing to do. But you ask God to use you because your skills and talent God gave you.
Right. Like you said earlier, everybody has their light, but they have to be able to tap into it. And you have to want to tap into it. That's another thing that I've noticed. Some people are just out here living, Steven, like they're not paying attention. They don't know what they're gifted at. They don't know their talents. They don't know how to capitalize off of it. They don't even want to try.
Okay, can I say something that
Of
Patricia Turner
course.
would say? I'm gonna say, wake up.
Facts.
That's what she was
That's how
saying.
I feel
She was
every day.
saying, I can't. She
Woo.
said something. Wake up. She said so harsh. Oh,
Do
and
it
I be.
again, Steven. Do it again.
But let me just, because she wants to in her soul. There's parts that weeded out, but she wants to console you right there. But she's like, sweetie, wake up.
Yeah. Go to the camera again.
Wake up.
Oh my
Wake up.
God.
And she
Like,
would say it like this. Wake up.
what's the
I'll
movie?
be like,
What's the movie
am I
producer with the funny lyrics?
who?
Black guy. He always makes the dope black films. What's his name?
You talking about Spike Lee?
Yes. Remember he
Yeah.
did one of his shows. He was like, "Wake up!"
Yeah. See, that was, and my mother would probably look at me if I was watching that at that moment and say, "You
That's how I
did
feel every
not. You got
day.
two examples now. You got two examples, and so but that the message is open your eyes. Why are people not denouncing racist groups? I mean, you need to denounce racism in order to grow, because children don't even come out racist. They're not even programmed to be racist.
Until
They're
they're
very,
programmed by their parents.
open.
Until they're programmed by their parents.
And
Those are
which
the
is sad,
children.
because it's like if there's an element of protection there, you're actually living their life for them. You're not letting them experience things on their own.
Yeah.
I don't, I'm not. I struggle with having a daughter. My best friend who has a daughter now, and she's only 6 months old.
Mhm.
We could laugh all day. I would tell y'all, watch out, because with like my other boy, his daughter is 5 or 6 years old.
Uh-huh.
Y'all watch out, because I don't care what she do. We gonna protect all three of them with our
I know
lives.
that's right. I know that's right.
I'm not even
Absolutely.
joking. And all three of them together, if certain dudes look, I'm already like, and they got to grab me. And not really, because if it was anything, shout to Brandon Young. If it was anything, anybody was in trouble with something, the first person they came and got was Brandon Young, my
Yep.
boy from Yup. So, and he just had a 6 month old. So that little she's already got them wrapped. So I told them it's just gonna be the same way.
Right.
You know,
I'm gonna show you. I forgot to show you guys this. Hold on.
I just want to come on here and set the record straight about the Nintendo 64 y'all see up there. Man, it was a dangerous world out here back in the 90s. I'm telling you. Zelda, I ain't really played that much, but Super Smash Brothers, y'all wasn't seeing me in there, especially if I pick Kirby. So move along. Move along. Mario Kart, that's Mario Kart right there, boy. Mario hands down all day. Y'all ain't seeing me. Mario Party 3, y'all wasn't seeing me. I don't even want to talk about it. What's that? Pokemon Stadium? Man, cut it out. Cut it out. I dare anybody challenge me on that. Pokemon Stadium? I don't even want to talk about it. My dog's sitting right here looking at me like they don't even want to see me. Cut it out. Ain't none of y'all seeing me. That hold the James Bond. I'm going to get back to you in a minute. What's that other one right there? What's that? Oh, Mario 64? You know how many times I beat that as a shorty? Sitting there eating Fruit Loops or Captain Crunch, half naked playing that. It's a one player game, but ain't nobody really seeing me on that. I don't even want to talk to y'all about nothing. But let's get back to this James Bond 007 GoldenEye. Cancel all your plans, because anxiety, depression, and all that's about to sneak into your life once I beat your ass up in that game. You wasn't seeing me, especially when I had Odd Job. So go ahead and call it a wraps. I challenge anybody. Don't none of y'all want to smoke.
Listen, man, make sure y'all go follow June. Wait, let me give y'all the proper name. I don't want to mess it up. Hold up.
oh man,
Make
that's
sure y'all go
hilarious.
back and follow Just Being June. That's what it is. Just Being June. I'll make sure to put it in the comment section below. But that's his TikTok as well as his Facebook. Man, that
We
guy is doing some
can I
some
say
old school
I'm,
stuff there.
he is. Can I want We need to promote black people. You do the best job of that I've ever seen. And I told my cousin, because it take a lot to blow my mind about people doing stuff for African Americans. You blew my mind with that. I was like, okay, so
Listen,
we
it
have
just
a
comes
form.
natural, man. Like we all have it in us. We just have to want to do it. That's the thing. God created us here as a family, as a village. And I really feel like we've lost our way, but He created people like me, you, and other people that I've had on my show to really stand up and speak the truth. I think a lot of people are
Right.
afraid to do that because they're afraid of what can be lost. I'm afraid of losing my soul, nothing else. So, in order for me to maintain my place where I know I'm going to be when I leave this place one day, I want to make sure that I'm doing what God wants me to do. I want to make sure that I'm making God, our Savior, proud. Now, everyone may not believe in God. That's your business. But you may believe in a higher creator. So then, if you don't believe in God, then to the higher creator, whoever he or she may be, or they, like I
Yeah.
want to make sure that I'm doing what I was created to do. This is in my light and in my soul to do it. So this is why I do what I do for my people and for all people, not just for black and brown. I do it for everybody. But one thing that I stand on is if you respect me, I respect you in return. If you disrespect me, then you need to just wait and see what happens.
Okay. I love, man, you're so real with that, and I love that because it's true. I want to tell, go vote. Every African American person in this country should vote. Period.
Yes.
I don't care. I don't even want to hear it. Like my mother would say, you don't have anything to complain about if you don't vote.
No, facts. It's true. It is true. We can't sit around and complain. You can't complain and do nothing. You can't complain and don't do the research. You can't complain and not be able to list at least one person from every division on the ballot. You have to take out the time to do the research. And true, they do keep us busy most of the day, so that we don't have time or feel like going to sit down to research. But reading is fundamental. Like I had to slow down to read more. I'm telling you, my vocabulary suffered significantly because I was always crunching numbers, always solving equations. But you have to read because it pours back into you, right?
Hmm. Yep, it does. When you read, it's essential. The turmoil that's been going on with certain cryptocurrencies, you need to read. My father asked me if I had any involvement in that, and I was almost insulted. I'm like, are you kidding me? There's no way I would have gotten involved in something that I didn't know 100% all the way through. We have to read. And there are opportunities out here for us. I'm telling people with 3 degrees that there are grants and forgiveness out here for you. Newborn babies, babies that you know about to be a bomb in this society, just crush everything they do. Just like my daughter, just like my boy's daughter. Just smarter as a whip and know that they're going to be business minded when, or whatever they want to do when they get older.
Definitely. And it's important to have, it's essential to have parents like yourself and your wife that are cultivating these small little minds. They're not
Yeah.
small minds, they're huge minds in these small little bodies. Let me read.
Oh yeah,
Because
and it's
these
never a
kids come out
dull.
so intelligent. Yeah. And a lot of
Yeah.
times our children, they lose that vigor. They lose that just tenacity and that wholesomeness to want to learn because of either their environment,
Yeah.
because of trauma, because parents are not taking out time to listen to their children. Like guys, you don't know the power of just being able to be a real active listener. How it can
Ooh.
change your whole entire life. How you can change the people that you love, the environment around them. Just taking time to hear people out goes far.
It does. It really does. Active listening teaches you things about people, and it also gives you a better attitude for people to approach you. I always tell my daughter, you give respect and you get it. You give respect, though. You give respect. That's what you do. If you want respect, you have to give it.
Yes, I agree. Even with my little baby, the smallest one, I get down on her level on my knees and I have conversations with her when I want her to know how serious I am, but I have to get eye level. And I let her know, hey, you will respect me. And she'll say, yes, ma'am. Right. And it's not an intimidation factor. It's more of let me get down to your level
You're
so that
right.
you
Hmm.
understand where mommy's
Yeah,
coming from.
I've
Because if
had
you want respect, right, you have to give it.
and I'm sure your husband has felt like at times, like when y'all looking at each other a certain way, he'll step in like, I'm here for loving, so love me
Mhm.
instead of be at each other, because
Oh,
that's
absolutely.
you know
Well,
and
see,
it's
listen, my husband's spicy. He's from Jamaica, so he
yes,
naturally he naturally just has this aggression about him that he has learned to fine tune and relax, right? Because he
yeah,
knows he
yeah.
doesn't have to be that way with any of us, in the house. So it's just amazing, when you're married, as how both of us are married, right? You and I, you have your wife, I have my husband. Marriage will mature you in ways that you would have never guessed.
It really does. It makes you really learn how to interact with someone because being driven, and I see it on Housewives all the time. When you have two driven people and they collide like that, it's an explosion, and everyone knows to be the heck away from that area.
Right, right.
And for us, we've learned not to explode so violently.
Yes.
Because at the beginning, I'm telling you, my buddies a lot. They be like, "Man, you getting calls, like you get text messages, you answer the phone." I'm like, "Well, she's pregnant, and
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
it's
yeah.
like
No,
it's okay."
we get off the chain when we're pregnant. I must admit, but it's interesting to watch how how you guys are able to adjust to our needs when you really care about us. And you really
Right?
love us.
Yeah.
You are literally going to everything how you would normally react in a regular situation. You completely do a 360, and you're like, you know what, or a 180. I can't be this way with her. I know why she's acting like this. So let me do this, this, and this. But it does take both sides, right? It takes the woman and man to be able to compromise or to adjust. I wouldn't say compromise, adjust to each other's moods, adjust to each other's situations, and just have each other's back, at the end of it all. Have each other's back.
Yeah, I
Because
think that's
nobody's
the
perfect.
key because I have her back in my sleep and in my thoughts 3 days before. I'm just like, no, I'm
Mm,
thinking about you and I'm thinking about how your standard and where you're living right now. So I want to protect that.
right, exactly.
And I need your help. When I say I need your help, like my father's very, very kind hearted when he comes to people, and so when they say stuff like I need your help, he really needs your help, and I really need your help. I can do things on my own. I'm starting to get it into place.
Hmm.
Where I can do things on my own. So
Hmm.
transitioning and then picking up was like just it was nerve wracking,
Of course.
even in society right now. That's why I was saying black people need to be uplifted because
Yes.
this is too much tragedy too fast.
Yes, I agree. And it's just hit after hit after hit. Probably from me telling you that I lost my best friend last week.
I know.
And
Oh, I'm so
not even 2
sorry.
years prior, I lost my cousin who was like a sister to me during the whole pandemic. So it's just been one blow after the next. And granted, we can't project or predict, I should say, the future. But what we can do is we can leave those beautiful memories behind where we supported each other, and that's why I have no regrets. I can get on my show the days later after finding out she passed, or a week later, because we had a real sisterhood. That's something I can't say about everyone that may call me a friend. I call most of the people I know associates now because you only have a small pool of real friends these days, anyway. Because most people are out here thinking about
That's
competition,
true.
they're out here thinking about themselves, they're being extremely selfish. When people close to you pass away, it's tough. So I want to just take a moment right now on my show to thank all of my real friends who called to check in on me to make sure that I'm okay, to make sure that I'm still eating, to make sure that I'm still fully present for my children. Because being a wife and a mom and a businesswoman, it's a lot. That's three different full time jobs. So I really want to thank you guys, all my real friends who have consistently, day in, day out, recklessly checked on me. Like, you guys aren't bothering me at all. I really appreciate the support because even though I may appear solid and strong each and every day that I show up on this show, I am too a human as well. I go through changes just like everyone else, right? I go through ups and downs just like everybody else. So I'm very thankful, to have real friends and family in my corner. Because I
Yep.
couldn't say that. I couldn't say that a few years ago. I know who my circle is now, and it feels good to know that.
It does. I lost my aunt yesterday.
I'm sorry. Hmm.
You just don't know. I mean, she was everything to me. Like you talk about somebody as a grown man that could go spend the night over his aunt's house
Right. Right.
and eat in the
Oh,
morning, whatever she cooked. She came to my aid anytime, and that's a shout out to Jackie, to Crystal, to Kyla, to Sharon, Paul, Steven, and the babies, Eric, Jazzy, all of them who just loved everything we do on Facebook, and our family is so good. Shout out to them because she's an angel, and I miss her. Man, that woman, just at 80 years old. I mean, just the way she looked to me was young. It was just young, like beautiful, just an African American woman, just who has achieved everything.
wow. I'm so sorry. And I do want to thank you so much for coming onto the show, 24 hours later, after
Oh
going
yeah.
through something like a loss that's significant. I know what it feels like. I had to do the same thing. Like this year, I had to do my show 2 days after finding this out with my best friend. And then I had a book signing the year that my cousin passed. Literally had just found out like the day before or 2 days. No, it was a day, 24 hours before, and still had to show up and, sign books and have a speech. It was tough. It was tough. But one thing about, like I said, about people in general, human beings are resilient. We are resilient race of people. Now, I'm not talking about just African American. I'm talking about just the human race in general.
Yeah.
We're resilient and we are made to conquer these challenging times, and we can do it. And we can do it effortlessly if we were to make a choice to do it together. That has been the whole purpose, behind these Black History moments that I've had on the Sisters Talk podcast, is to really start promoting deeper conscious thinking, active thinking in your life. Thinking about how you make people feel when you have conversations with them. Thinking about how you can make your relationships connect better, whether they're a romantic relationship, a friendship, platonic relationship, co-worker to co-worker relationship and dynamics. We just have to work on ourselves as a whole to really hone in to better communication so that we can have those everlasting networking connections with people that we've never met in real life. But you don't know who you may make a connection with on Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, right? Online. They could open up the door and change your life for the rest of your life.
And always being cautious, be careful with whom you talk to. But what I love about African Americans and in the community is that they always have open arms, embrace, whatever issue is going on and try to nurture. And that's what it's all about, not just for African Americans, for everybody. And we have to put our petty differences aside, and find common ground. Find common ground, seriously. I don't play around when it comes to the safety of my child. We had these, I was talking about this to a good friend the other day. When we have, children running up in school shooting, we need to corral that. That needs to be snipped. That part. Our parents shouldn't have to worry about the safety of their children at school. And we've had an issue here at Arizona in my school, and our principal handled it beautifully, you know. But Alex has a support system, you know.
I mean, you make a very valid point, and that's an issue that's happening throughout our country, and it has been happening for quite some time. And it's just kind of odd when we're like the world leader in military forces, naval commands, got the U.S. Space Force now. Like we have a lot of support, and we have a lot of money, and we have a lot of high technology. And it's like I said, it's just a strange thing that things like this still occur. But I do understand, there's forces at battle right now, whether we can seen and unseen, I'll put it that way. So we just have to make sure that we're remaining vigilant, as we pray over our young ones when we send them off to school. We remain dedicated to just making sure that we create a community, like you said, of protection and of prayer and of like minds to make sure that we ensure safety for everybody.
That's key. And also the ability to sacrifice time so that we can spend teaching these little ones.
Yes.
You know.
As tired as I am most days, every day, little one, 4-year-old, reading 3 books a day. To the point now she's reading them herself now, right? So it's like she learned how to read without me. When I first heard her read one of the books, I was like, what? Wait, hold on. Like I couldn't even, because she was reading. And I was like, wow, this is the moment I've been waiting for all my life. Because the first 3 years of her life, I was so busy, right? But the moment I slowed down, she started reading within a few months. So see, our kids are capable of things that we can't even conceive. Like we can't even understand it. But Stephen, what you said is valuable. Take out time with your children.
You have to, and even with me too, because my wife that can't stand, y'all will be laughing so hard, is how much Alex is like me to her, and it's so unfair when she does that. She's like, "Oh, she just like you." And see, the thing that's so funny because it's in her genetics to respond, but I try to catch her on it every time. Like, hey, not so harsh. Not so harsh.
You're saying really? to your mini me?
Yeah.
Okay,
And she
yeah.
still, even facing up on her sometimes, she just want to look at you like, man, you ain't, well, I topple you. I'm like, hey, don't walk past me in the bathroom like you could dip your shoulder on me like you some type
I'm
of
done.
linebacker or something.
No,
What?
but your kid is like she's doing it like she belongs
Yeah.
on TV. It's
She wants
crazy.
to be, but see, I told her, that's a lot of work. That's a lot
Yeah.
of work. I
And a lot of
did.
protection on your part, right?
I
Because
did.
yeah.
I sat on Oprah's lap when I was 5 years old.
Oh wow.
I did a commercial with MJ when I was
Oh, you gotta
12.
dig up the commercial, Steven. I didn't know
It's
this.
on YouTube. It's got 4,000
You gotta
views.
dig it up. Send me the link.
I will. I,
You
I
can
will.
send it now. Send it now while I'm
You
going
want to
over
put it on
40.
here?
Wait, we
Uh,
already did 2 Black History facts. I'm gonna
well,
share
here,
some more
type
next time.
it here. Let me. Okay, because we
You can
got to
put it
set up.
in the chat on our stream. I'll
Um.
send you something here.
Okay.
That's funny. That's pretty cool though.
It
So
was
guys,
so
I'm
much
gonna.
fun.
Oh, you already pulled it up.
I'm about to go in here and
Okay, so
copy
while
it.
you do that, I'm gonna continue sharing the Black History facts that I didn't finish getting through. We were trying to get through them, but I think I lost. Thea Gibson was one of the first Black athletes to cross the line. So let's see what they mean by that. So Thea Gibson was born in South Carolina on August 25th, 1927. Her family then moved to Harlem, Manhattan, where she spent most of her childhood. And she was 10 years old. The Police Athletic League closed off traffic on her street to allow the children to play sports outside. And this is when Gibson developed her love for athletics and her gifted tennis abilities. Gibson went on to win a string of major titles of the African American tennis circuit. He was eventually permitted to enter the major international tournaments, becoming the first black athlete to win a Grand Slam title and the first to play in Wimbledon, later winning Wimbledon's and U.S. Nationals, which is pretty cool. And she was inducted into the Tennis Hall of Fame in 1971 and has often been compared to Jackie Robinson of her role in breaking down segregation in sports. Now, anybody that's black or brown knows that black people dominate in most athletic sports. There's a few other cultures that dominate in their particular regime as well, but just naturally, like from what I've seen, even like black people are pretty athletic naturally. And I get frustrated with black men because guys, you guys have this physique and you guys have this ability to run and leap and jump and hop. And I'm like, man, it would take me so much training just to do that. And it's not just the men; it's a lot of black women. I've noticed that as well.
Yeah.
Number 4, three light traffic signal was invented by a black man named Garrett Morgan. Now, Garrett Morgan wasn't also known for
Mm.
the traffic light; he was also known for the perm. Which now perms are being people who have gotten those perms are now finding out that they contribute to cervical cancer and many other things. So that was something that probably should have had more testing done to it. But he was the
We
person who
didn't have
found
it.
out about that chemical that straightens the hair, and he actually found out by putting the chemical accidentally on a dog, and the dog had curly hair, and once he removed the chemical, the hair was straight on the dog. So that's another fun fact people probably don't know about Morgan. And there was a few other inventions that he had created that aren't mentioned here. But yeah, look up Garrett Morgan, guys. He's one of those black inventors that really aren't talked about much in history. Number 5, Maya Angelou. She was the first black female cable car conductor in San Francisco. She was also a Pulitzer Prize winning author. Everybody knows at least one poem from Maya Angelou. Another, it's
Oh
not a fun fact.
yes.
It's a pretty like bad thing that happened to her. She was raped growing up, and her innocence
Shelley
was
Woodard.
taken away. And she often talked about that a lot in both her poetic content as well as some of the interviews that were conducted on platforms like the Oprah Winfrey Channel and many other well-known channels. So I know why the Cage Bird Sings is one of her well-known pieces. And I'm gonna stop at number 6 so that we can
Still
pull up
like Dust I
this
Rise.
with Steven. Before
Oh
Wally
yeah.
Amos established Famous Amos. Everybody knows about Famous Amos cookies, I hope. But if you don't know, go to your local gas station. I'm pretty sure they have a bag hanging up. Famous Amos brand of chocolate chip cookies. He was a talented agent. So William Morris Agency or Wally Amos worked with talented musical groups such as the Supremes and Simon and Garfunkel. I don't know who Garfunkel is. Do you know who that is? Simon and
Uh
Garfunkel.
yeah, it's a group. music group, I believe.
Yeah, I don't know any of their music. And then maybe I do, I'll just have to YouTube it. So Amos initially funded Famous Amos Cookie Company and with the help of celebrity friends from the talent agency Marvin Gaye and Helen Reddy. They're the ones who helped fund Famous Amos. So I think that's pretty cool to know.
It's dope.
Love those cookies. Anyways, I'm gonna stop sharing.
Okay, so I emailed you the link so you can play it. You can share it.
Oh, okay. Let's see.
It's cool. This is the coolest thing. I'm still amazed at what happened that day. Nobody could tell me anything about MJ. No,
right?
Nothing bad. Yeah,
Let me see if I got it. I didn't get it yet. Maybe like if you look on your look on the sideboard, there's gonna be a private chat. You can probably drop it there.
I sent it to your email to the sister's email. I just forwarded. I responded and forwarded.
Oh, there it is. It popped up. It popped up. Okay. I'm gonna play it. I'm gonna share the screen. Hold on. This is too funny. Let me share the sound too, if it'll let me. Hold on. All right, here we go.
I take it. So when I'm done slamming, I'm jamming. Ain't fashion underwear. It has a style that I'm used to with the comfort that I can't find flying through a 7-foot wall of arms and
boom. That's your boy right there, boy. Look at you.
That's crazy. That is crazy.
So much fun.
That's Hanes underwear. You know this is an old school commercial. That reminds me of like those 80s commercials. When did this come out?
We did that in 90, right before he won the championship. That man,
I would have a t-shirt on. I did a commercial with MJ.
He was cool. He was cool as ice. And one of the kids wanted to play uncle with him. I'm like, man, are you crazy?
God, what year did this come out though?
90, I think. Right at 90, because it was 90. Right before they won the championship.
That is awesome, Steven. Like I never knew that about you. That's crazy. Cool.
I sat on Oprah's lap. That was funny to my parents to tell that.
You have any pictures of that?
Nah, that was because when I was, acting even then, because I started modeling when I was 2. We were in Harpo Studios, back when it was, and she,
that's so cool. Like I never knew
climbed up in her lap.
Yeah, that lady there is worth multiple billions.
Well, and that's what I'm saying. Like we need to feed off of them. Like not ever put them under, any type of scrutiny because of the sole positions that they have.
I wouldn't say don't put them under any scrutiny. Like
no. I mean, I'm saying so that we can all benefit,
Yeah, but if they do something, where I was going with that is like if they do something that's like calls for like eyebrows.
Oh, it's under a microscope. Instantly.
Yeah, well, I'm just saying like nobody's beneath. You know what I mean? Like being correct.
Oh no, yeah. Well, and lately what we've been seeing is that the common folk have been more, prone to doing some of these things, and they're repeat offenders that we let slip. But that's why we have to be vigilant, and vet these people.
Oh yeah, you have to vet everyone, especially your so-called friends, people that you're dating. I tell people this all the time, but that's another topic for another podcast. Yeah. But just getting back on topic, because we could talk about a lot of different things here. We were talking about progress and some of the truths unfolded. So we talked about Jerry Lawson. You got a chance to see an old school video cartridge. I think some people never even seen that before. So if you're turning into this later because you're watching the game right now, make sure you go back, check it out, do some research on Jerry Lawson. He's the reason why we have the Sega, the Nintendo 64, and the regular basic Nintendo before Nintendo 64. I hated the Mario Karts. Or whatever.
Yeah, that dude he was on one. He just challenged the whole world. But I played different games, but now it's, PS5. It's more like robust, I enjoy, games on that, and when I have time. And so we're looking at things, from a perspective of, again, here's an African American engineer who you can strive to be, young one,
Yeah, exactly.
who's made an accomplishment that we all benefit from.
Yeah, and it just shows you it can be done. Like there should never be any real limitations to what you believe that you can do and the things that you can create, right? And the grand decisions that you can make with your life. I said Mario 3, baby.
He went nuts.
3,
Yeah,
you know. I'm
yeah.
gonna finish up these 40 Black History facts, and we're gonna wrap up for today. But like I said, like, yo, these kind of conversations that we're having today is so imperative, especially in our community, because we're the community that's still kind of like waking up. We were like the infants, like we had to start all the way over after being so oppressed, after being so abused, literally being abused. And it's so funny, that I say that, because there's so many people who look at the statements that I'm making now and just say, "Oh, why are you guys always complaining? You guys have this now. You guys have that now." And it's like,
Let me.
again, we're not starting at the same places in life. We're not.
Yeah.
We're not. And that's what makes all of the difference right there. So moving on from Famous Amos cookies, because it's making me hungry for a snack. Number 7, Rebecca Lee Crumpler. She was the first Black woman to become a doctor of medicine in the United States. Now, this was in 1852, what they're mentioning here, right? But just know, guys, for your own fun history facts, Blacks were doctors before they came here. And some Black people were already here. They were called the AKA Indigenous American people. So, you guys, you really have to do your research. Not all Native Americans were fair skinned or white or whatever you want to call that complexion. A lot of them look like me, look like Steven, and even
Yep.
darker. If you guys pull up some of these pictures, you guys will see exactly what I'm talking about. It's so important that you do your research. Let's go on to number 8. The Sugar Hill Gangs, Rapper's Delight. I know you know who Rapper's Delight is. No?
Yeah, of course I do.
Oh,
I'm just
okay.
looking like,
Because I didn't hear anything. I
what?
wasn't looking at the other screen, so I couldn't see your face.
Yeah. Are you kidding? Man, please. All of my homeboys in grammar
You see
school
the
be like,
baby hair? Look at this baby hair. Look at that. Look at that. So
that
now I'm
just,
trying to see where that came from.
he looked like my godchild, like my godchild face looked. If I put a picture up against that, you'd be like, oh my Lord.
They may be related. You just never know. You
I
just
don't
never.
know, Tammy. Well, that's right, because Tammy got dead. Yeah, that's right. She's
Yeah,
talented. So, oh man.
exactly. So she became the first commercially successful rap record. So she was like, I guess she was kind of like the pioneer, so to speak,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Of
I
commercial
mean,
rap. You don't even hear people talking about her on to that degree. You know what I mean?
and what's sad is that these kids don't know the stuff we grew up on. Like they just don't know it. If they watch it, I think they might be a little more interested and learn. But even that response is gonna be like an insult to any person's ear because they just don't understand. Like the stuff we grew up on. It's like not. We have to give it to them so they can see what it was like, so that they have something to compare to what they have now.
Absolutely. And Bruce Jones, thanks so much for tuning in. Everyone that's tuned in here, I really appreciate you guys. Make sure you like, comment, share, and subscribe. So we're talking about real Black history here, guys. We're talking about history that we don't really bring up anymore, that is just kind of been buried and hidden. And this is something that we need to pay homage to these people, especially the ones that are still alive. That's so essential. I for a long time, Rosa Parks, even a woman before her, I forget her name. I'm sorry, don't charge me for it. I just don't remember. But a black lady before Rosa Parks would refuse to get up, right, in exchange for a seat. And they really didn't give her the same magnification as they did Rosa Parks. Something else, another fun fact to know about Rosa is that the owner of Little Caesars Pizza, he paid Rosa Parks rent until the day she died. No,
Hmm.
a lot of people don't know that. Yeah, to the day she died. And I was like, wow, see, this is information that should be known. We dropped the ball and said, yes, we did. We did drop
Oh
the ball
Lord,
in the
don't get
70s.
Danielle started.
I agree. Yeah, let's get me started because we're gonna go for another hour. Steve said, I'm tired of talking to y'all. Listen,
Hey, no, I'm not
listen,
either. I'm not. I
listen.
go on this
Can
podcast with you
I
as
ask?
long as you want me to.
I appreciate you. We know we're getting ready to wrap up, but I have an older friend, is what I'm trying to say. I don't know where my tongue was going, but anyway, I have an older friend, and I asked her this very question. I said, "What happened to black people in the '60s and the '70s?" But now I think I know the answer. Crack cocaine. Let's
Drugs.
carry on. Anyways, so and I'll leave it there because I don't want to expand on it on this show. But I'm serious. I'm so for real. Number 9, the practice of vaccinations was brought to America by an enslaved person. I'm gonna keep going because I have so much to speak on that. Not today. Number 10, the Alvin Ailey American Dance Theater, which changed the perception of American dance and was founded in 1958. So let me just read a little bit about this. So it says Alvin Ailey was a dancer, director, choreographer, and activist who breathed life into one of the most prominent dance companies across the globe, the Alvin Ailey American Dance Theater. He also created the affiliated Ailey School, which not only served as a haven for up and coming Black artists, but showcased the University of the African American experience through dance, bringing together ballet, jazz, modern dance, and theater. Ailey's hopeful choreography was performed across the world, spreading awareness of Black life in America. Though he passed in 2014, that was kind of recent, guys. Ailey was, what word is this? I don't know this word.
Oh,
Posthumously? What does that mean?
posthumously awarded the Presidential
Posthumous.
Medal of Freedom for his groundbreaking work in bringing the expressive art of dance to undeserved communities or underserved communities. Yeah,
I
yep.
never, I never
Well, he
did
was
that.
huge in Chicago. There's another that boy William that came
I
from
was gonna
Beasley
ask you,
Dance Play. Who, buddy?
yes, you know who this
He was amazing.
is. No Emotional
Well,
Podcast, Warfare.
welfare,
Oh, Welfare.
welfare.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think
Um,
Welfare really
but
contributed to that dynamic.
the title of it and the stigma of it was very poisonous because even to this day,
True, but
the
it
idea
didn't.
of having children to get more money
I
from the
don't.
government doesn't add up because of the cost of children and how much it costs to raise them
I just don't
correctly.
feel like it really contributed to our downfall, though, because you think about it, right? Statistically, there was a higher number of whites and always has been on welfare than there ever has been of
Oh yeah.
blacks.
Hmm.
In black people's
True.
mind, the perception was that more of us was on it because nobody was taking out the time to read. You see where I'm going with that?
Yeah.
Just like I don't know that word that I have highlighted. I've never seen that
Gotta
before.
read. I'm telling you, I'm so urgent on everybody that I run into. You better read for
You
real,
have,
for real.
you have
Everything. Don't
But
let
I do
anything sneak
appreciate that
past you.
comment from No Emotion podcast because welfare is a kicker. Welfare, crack cocaine, as well as, and I know people are gonna be mad at me about this, but public housing. Here's the thing that I
There you
have against
go.
public. Yeah, I'm going there, Stephen. Don't tell me not to. I'm
I
going.
know I
We're
wouldn't.
going on a train. We're
I,
going together. Okay, listen.
that's right.
This whole public housing, there's no way another grown person can tell me as a grown person that my man can't live with me. And if he does, then no longer have access to the benefit that you're giving me. If that's the case, I'm just gonna work
Mhm.
hard and pave the way, me and my man, right?
Yeah,
I'm
that's
just using a
right.
hypothetical here. That's not my situation because I'm married, but I'm just saying that's basically what they're telling you guys, that you
Right.
can't have a man in your home to bring logic, to bring protection and love and support to you if you want us to help you. If that's not a gangster move, I don't know what is.
I remember them laws back then. I mean, like how that was presented. Because what these programs are, they're formed to give you a swift kick. Okay, and it's a harsh one because in my I don't want the government supporting me. Not saying I wouldn't take it. I'm just saying I want to
Yep.
support myself first and foremost. You know, before I get a government handout because it classifies you and it puts you in a situation where at the end, towards the end of your life, you're turning everything over to Medicaid or to the government anyway. You know what I mean? So if you have no one to pass it on to or no one to manage it for you,
And
you
it's
know.
no shade. I just want to make sure I say that. Yeah, it's no
Oh
shade when
yeah,
I say
no,
what I say.
we don't
It's
throw
just
shade
that
on
I
that.
really sat back and I thought about this. You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah, no,
I'm
we
just
have
not
to
doing
say
it.
that.
I'm
We
I.
don't throw shade. This is all knowledge. We're spitting knowledge here. Yeah.
That's
When we
it. That's
talk
all we're
about
trying to do here.
uplifting, and you're so positive. I just know you on a personal level from, professionally, and you're very positive. So for me, this is an avenue to be able to get out and create positivity, and knowledge is power. So, I always tell people if I don't know something, I will get the answer and get back to you, you know, instead of to
Absolutely.
tell you the wrong thing. I speak from my heart.
Agreed. Agreed. And that's the only place we really should be speaking from, right? But it's easier. It's easy for me to say that because I know people are dealing with their own inner battles and challenges. But I just had to make sure I clarified it. It's no shade. It's just facts. According to number 11, Bayard Rustin, an LGBTQ right activist, orchestrated the civil rights movement from behind the scenes. So, back then people weren't openly gay. He was born in Bayard was born in 1912, and he was one of the key advisors to Reverend Martin Luther King Jr. Did you know that, Stephen?
I didn't know that.
See, fun facts
Mm-mm.
we're learning all day long. So now you know. So let's see here. Let me see if there's any more. Unfortunately, due to the criticism over his sexuality, Rustin was typically kept out of the spotlight and utilized only as an engineer of change in positions where he was not widely visible to the public. So that's the reason why you
How
didn't know about him.
rude. How rude. How rude of the public to kick. Now, what I have seen is recently our society is more accepting of the LGBTQ plus, society. But again, you have in general a part of society that is voting. So they can
Mm-hmm.
complain about whatever they want to complain about as long as they're voting. That's what my
That's
mom would
right.
say. And we
Yeah.
shouldn't
So
be
that's good.
judgmental of
These are good
anyone.
fun facts.
Yeah, we
I
should never be
agree. And
judgmental of
just like
anyone.
I was telling someone in my family the other day that no sin, sorry, is greater than the next. Some people condemn sins far harshly than others, but again, we're not the ones that have the authority, I should say, to judge. So I'll leave that at that. I'll move on to number 12.
No, no,
Phyllis,
no. Only God can judge us. But
okay,
I would say you can judge character. You can judge
you
someone's
can.
character,
Yeah.
because you stay out of scenarios with people that are dangerous
Mhm.
if you're judging the character early on rather than later and get mixed up and tied up into something you don't want to be involved in and can't get
True.
out of.
Very true. Very wise. Wise advice there. And I agree 100%. Number
Thank you.
12, Phyllis Wheatley was only 12 when she became the first female American author, or I should say published, the first female African American published author. 12 years old, guys. 12. If she can do it, you can do it.
Genius.
Very much so.
Genius.
Number 13, MLK improvised the most iconic part of his I Have a Dream speech. Can you imagine improvising in front of that many people about a topic that is just so deep, that is just so penetrating to the center of American society? Like, that's
That
profoundly
speech, I
deep.
can't even count how many times. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, you're fine. Go for it.
I can't even count how many times I've read that. And it's just like, it's profound. You know, it's it's something where I strive to write that way because you want a positive spin. I like you, I'm very much like you. I do not want negativity in my life. I just can't live with it. It just cannot happen. I don't want to be around it. Whenever my daughter gets a sad face, I'm all up in her face trying to make her smile. Cause I'm not, we're not doing that. It's no reason to stay. There's no reason not to stay positive because God made all of this.
That's right.
You know, and you have people that love you, and people need to wake up and realize that people out here, there are people that love them.
Mm-hmm.
Some with a harsh, the older people tend to be a little more harsh because they had it rough.
Yes, that's true. I'm glad you said that. Very true. So true. You know, another fun, not fun, less fun, but more serious fact about Martin Luther King is that when he was so called, well, he was
Yeah, he was
he
assassinated.
was when he was injured, right, during
Hmm.
that situation that went down. He did his demise didn't come from that injury. It actually came from a malpractice. We'll say it that way. So again, it's so important that we research so we know the truth about these things. Number 14, Hattie McDaniel, the first African
Oh
American to win an
yes.
Oscar, wasn't allowed to attend Gone with the Wind's national premiere.
Guess
Isn't
what?
that crazy?
Guess what?
What?
My grandfather used to dance with her.
Wow. So, we need to talk a little bit more behind the scenes because it's something you haven't been telling me. So, I already see what's going on here. You're a
Yeah.
celebrity son. You're a son of a celebrity family. Bottom line, because you've been in a commercial with Michael Jordan.
Yeah.
You sat on Oprah's lap. So, you see, you haven't been fully honest.
I loved working with Tempest Bledsoe too from the Cosby Show. Because
Wow.
in high school at Eastern, when Bill came to Eastern to do a comedy, I got to be his security. He made me his security. That was so cool.
That is cool. You have a lot of fun and amazing memories. That's
I do,
crazy.
because I didn't win the contest, and he knew how mad I was about it. He was like, "Man, you could be my security. Come on over there and guard that door. Don't let
Okay.
nobody in here."
He
I
was
was like, "All right."
uplifting you. That's good.
I
He was
love him so much. He was awesome.
So number 15, Josephine Baker was a spy for the French
Oh,
during World War II.
good
I
Lord
read
have
about that.
mercy.
That's crazy.
Woo.
Number 16, the ban on interracial marriage in the U.S. was overturned because of one couple in 1967. I think I watched a movie about this.
Now look at how many
That's crazy.
commercials and how
That is crazy.
many
Number 17, Martin
supporting.
Luther King Jr.
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh,
Can you
yeah,
hear
for
me?
sure. Oh, yeah, since then, yeah, of
I
course.
was just
Number
commenting on the.
17,
Oh, go
Martin
ahead. Go ahead.
No,
Go
go
ahead.
with it. Go with it. I just can't see you because I'm
Now
scrolling trying to go ahead.
that's warming to me to see more interracial couples on commercials in supporting roles of each other, because that is real to people. People want to see
Oh, yeah.
race getting along in a love situation, because then everything is created from that. So that is a good thing to see. I do like to see that, at least the stigmatism on that has been lifted. And there was a time when they were trying to hold that down and make that illegal as well. And I think that's wrong.
That's just in. Not only is it wrong, it's dare I say it's stupid. Like we focus on some of the craziest stuff that I just will never understand. Like I just will not. It's just all about at the end of the day, in the beginning, it was all about control. We all know that. Number 17, Martin Luther King Jr. was assassinated on Maya Angelou's 40th birthday. Number 18, 9 months before Rosa Parks, there was a young woman named Claudette Colvin. Let's read about her. This may be the young lady I was talking about. On December 1st, 1955, Rosa Parks refused to relinquish her seat on a public bus. Parks' protest sparkled the Montgomery bus protest and galvanized the civil rights movement. Yet she was not the first African American individual in Montgomery to stand up against injustice in such a manner. On March 2nd, 1955, 15-year-old Claudette Colvin was riding home on a city bus after a long day at school. A white passenger boarded, and the bus driver ordered Claudette to give up her seat. Claudette refused. As she later told Newsweek, I felt that Sojourner Truth was pushing down on one of my shoulders, and Harriet Tubman was pushing down the other. I was glued to my seat. This is the woman I was just talking about, and I couldn't think of her name. Claudette Colvin. Thank you, God. Because I was like, oh my God, I forgot this woman's name, and it's right here in the article. So she was actually one of the first ladies before Rosa Parks to not release her seat. She did not relinquish her seat at all. It's funny what she told Newsweek. That's hilarious. Colvin was arrested for her civil disobedience and briefly put in jail. The NAACP and other civil rights groups considered rallying around Colvin's case in their campaign against Alabama segregation laws before focusing efforts on Rosa Parks protests 9 months later. Nevertheless, Colvin was one of the 4 plaintiffs in the landmark Browder versus Gale case in 1956, which ruled that the segregation laws of Montgomery and Alabama state were unconstitutional. It took them that long to realize that. And she's adorable. Look at her. So yeah, shout out to Claudette Colvin for holding it down, literally, and not giving up her seat, because she understood and she loved herself enough to say, you know what, I'm not giving up what's mine, and I'm not going to disrespect myself for some crazy law that's been set in place to further divide us, set in place to further terrorize a group of individuals whose skin did not look like the ones that were oppressing them. It's when you read about stuff like this. Number 19, Anna Murray was the first African American woman to be ordained as an Episcopal. Oh, my grandma gonna give me Episcopal priest.
Yeah,
there you go. I'm over here thinking about apostolic.
Because Episcopalian is one of her. Yeah, Episcopal priest. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I'm over here talking about apostolic.
Well, look at that. Isn't that crazy? Look at that. Look at that stat. Look at that statistic. We should be positive about that. We should use that, for positivity, for growth, because African American women need solid foundation and support and love, Yes.
Let's read a little bit more about her. So this fiery woman exchanged letters with both Eleanor and Franklin Roosevelt for many years and was considered one of Eleanor's dear friends. Although her work has rather sadly faded from view, Murray's expertise in law was a vital part of the civil rights movement. She worked closely with icons like Thurgood Marshall and Rosa Parks, and was appointed by President Kennedy to the Presidential Commission on the Status of Women in the 1960s, where her work focused on Jane Crow. Interesting, Jane Crow. How discrimination against Black people particularly and deeply affected Black women, and the ways in which sexism and racism combined to affect Black women. Murray died of cancer in 1985. In the last decade or so, her work has been brought back to light through various efforts, including making her childhood home a National Historic Landmark and a blockbuster dual biography of Murray and Eleanor Roosevelt. That was a lot in one paragraph. Like, Jim Crow, she was creating Jane Crow. Crazy. I didn't even know that. Like, that's crazy.
Yeah, for sure. Now, these things I'm aware of, but, Thurgood Marshall, are we talking about, people whose shoes are very hard to fill now that, but, this our parents, like my parents' friends, their shoes are huge to fill. Yep. Their shoes are huge to fill.
These people, I asked the question earlier, like what happened to the 60s and 70s? What was happening was a lot of great things were happening in the Black and brown communities, as we can see here. But there were also equally a lot of bad things that were happening to the community, to counteract the good. So, wow, look, the truth is really unfolding here. Number 20, Matthew Henson was a key member of the first successful expedition to the North Pole and made 7 separate voyages to the Arctic.
Isn't that crazy?
That's wild. Look at this. Look at his outfit. Like, that's crazy. So April 9th, 1909, Matthew Henson and Robert Peary arrived at the true North Pole, but getting there was no easy feat. I can imagine it wasn't. Let's see here. So they went in the early 1900s. It says after they finally made it in 1909, Henson and Peary went to explore the Arctic for another 2 decades. So they did this exploration in the early 1900s. During the same time, if I'm not mistaken, in 1905, Einstein was creating and developing equations to solve what is now known as black holes. So think about the amount of knowledge that has been around for a whole century or more. Like, come on. We're a lot more. I think we're ahead of the game more than what we really realize right now. Number 21.
This one right here, boy, Madam C.J. Walker, boy.
Yes, and did you watch the movie or I think it was a TV series with this?
Not yet.
I'll find it and send it to you. But number 21, Madam C.J. Walker was an African American entrepreneur who became America's first female self-made millionaire. And so, oh my God, this is just, I don't know. You guys do your research on her because there's a lot on her. I just want to make sure I get through all 40. Billie
She
Holiday's famous
made
Strange Fruit. Strange Fruit was sampled by Kanye West, in case you don't know what Strange Fruit is. So just look it up. Put Kanye West Strange Fruit sample. Billie Holiday, she's the voice behind that. You know, was originally a poem written by a school teacher. So the Strange Fruit has an interesting twist. Do you know what she was writing this poem about? Do you know the lyrics? What they mean?
um why don't you enlighten us?
Say it again, Steven. I'm sorry.
Why don't you enlighten us? I'm not familiar.
Oh,
You know,
let me
this
tell you, because
is
I didn't want to just rip through it. I get excited. Okay. So Strange Fruit was written to tell the tale about all the black men that were hanging from the trees. Strange Fruit.
ah.
Do you see what I'm
Hmm.
saying?
Are we referring
Okay, so let's read
to?
this article here. It says in 1936, Lewis Allen published an anti-lynching poem called Strange Fruit
Yeah,
in the Teacher
lynching.
Union
Okay.
magazine. Yeah, that's what I said. Hanging from,
Okay.
I didn't want to use
Yeah,
that term, but yeah. Lewis Allen
but
was
as
huh?
you were saying, Kanye, he took a snippet from this.
Kanye used a sample of Strange Fruit.
Oh,
So,
okay.
okay, so Billy sang the song is what that's what the art I think this is what the paragraph is going to tell you is that she actually sang this song, right? But Lewis Allen was the person who published the poem called Strange Fruit. So it started out as a poem, but Billy just created lyrics from it and turned it into a song. And it's a very eerie when you listen to it. It's a very eerie song. Kanye West took that song, like the chorus of it, and sampled it
And then
into
put
one of
it.
his.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah. He's genius when it comes to the music. I'll put it that way. But
Oh yeah.
anyways, yeah, he's gonna get the truth out in multiple different ways.
Yeah.
So yeah, this unfortunately was about lynching back in the day, and I believe Billy passed away due to a drug overdose. But here's a sad fact too. Can't say fun fact, but another sad fact is that she died. She was strapped. She was strapped down. So we don't know if she was administered the drug or what. It's just crazy. Like it's the stuff that went on back in the 1930s, 1920s. Like it was just a lot of craziness going on, unfortunately, to people who were really, really talented individuals. Number
Hmm.
23, Octavia E. Butler was dyslexic. So for people who don't know what dyslexia is, it's just sometimes when you read words, the letters appear backwards to you. That's the best way I can describe it. So you get mixed up when reading. You mix numbers around, or you flip, not numbers. Sorry, you mix letters around, or you flip letters, and you don't see them the same way that others see them. So it's dyslexia is known as a learning disability, right? And so the woman who would become the first science fiction writer to receive a MacArthur fellowship and who would win countless awards for her work over 40 odd year long career struggled with mid case dyslexia. And her name was Octavia E. Butler. So here's something for people out there. Don't let your learning disability stop you from your greatness, right? Do what you know God has put it on your heart to do. Achieve the goals that you have in your condition or any stop you. That's my advice to you. Because I've seen children with learning disabilities blow me out of the water. I could read a physics question to them, they've already solved it. So it's all about what do you want for your life, right? Don't let anybody stop you. Don't let anything stop you, actually. Number 24, Benjamin Banneker taught himself astronomy and math to become America's first known African American man of science. A lie. And the reason why I say that is because a lot of black people that came from from Africa, not America. A lot of black people that came from Africa on those slave ships were a lot of your scientists, astronomers, medical doctors, voodoo witch doctors. You think about it, you name it, they grabbed the best of the best and brought them here to build a new world. So people, this is no, now Benjamin Banneker, you have all my respect, sir, but you were just one of many. You weren't the first known. Well, they may be right about that part. First known African American, maybe, but you definitely weren't the first. And it's so sad that we pick and choose these certain people to highlight. But so many people back then and even now that that are doing great things that you just won't hear about, unfortunately, until they're dead and gone.
Right.
Number
Yep.
25. President, 3 separate assassination attempts were made on Shirley Chisholm. I remember her. And she was very
Oh
tenacious.
yeah.
And they just wouldn't give this lady a chance. Number
Well,
26.
see, we need a bunch of them now. We need a whole bunch of Shirley Chisholms in this country to just stand up and not take no.
Take no BS. I'll finish it for you.
No,
Dr.
just
Maine
not
Clayton
take
founded
no
the main.
for an answer. Period. I don't,
True that.
I love to see women stand up for their rights, and it's time. It's time. If Me Too and all these other movements weren't enough to open people's eyes, now it's time. Like it's like, we women, we play the equal role in society. Forget what anybody else is talking about.
Facts. Then we also have the Mame A. Clayton Library and Museum in 1975. And so basically the museum was first started as a Western States Black Research Center. Dr. Clayton spent decades curating her historical collection on her own, and she set up a large garage with Clayton's Los Angeles home. The collection was a library open to all. After some of the artifacts were damaged due to poor storage conditions, a campaign to rescue and relocate Dr. Clayton's work finally paid off when the collection found its permanent home inside of the former Los Angeles County Superior Courthouse in Culver City. It remains open to guided tours to this day. Now, how cool is that? She wanted to educate people so bad that she made a collection in her own garage. People saw her dedication, dedicated money and funding so that she could relocate all of that information.
Yep.
That was pretty awesome.
Very
27,
awesome.
The 6,888th Battalion was an all-black, all-female unit of the military that delivered mail to the World War II troops across England.
Mhm.
Wow. Look at that.
My mom talked about that. I remember her very, very proud to speak of that. Speak on, again, African Americans stepping up. There's nothing like it. Nothing like it.
Awesome. Number 28, Allensworth, California was an all-black township and the first of its kind. Number 29, the charity single "We Are the World" owes its creation and success to Black artists. And I remember that. We are the world, we are the children. Look at Michael Jackson.
Yep.
Look at Ray Charles.
Lionel Richie.
Stevie Wonder. Yeah. That's crazy. All right, number 30.
Kenny.
John Baxter Taylor was the first African American to win an Olympic gold medal. Look, he had an Eddie too. Let me stop being silly. Moving on. Number 31, Langston's great uncle, John Mercer Langston, was the first Black man admitted to the Ohio bar. Number 32, Black U.S. Soldiers were recognized for their service by the French in World War I, 90 years before the U.S. did the same. Number 33. Oh, number 33 got me. I didn't find this out until I was an adult.
Really?
Was based on a Black woman. I thought Betty Boop was white because look, to any kid looking at this,
you think it's a white girl.
The skin looks white.
It's not.
Shaded in a little bit with a pencil to let us know that she's Black. Like they didn't even attempt to do that.
Oop, oopie doo. Oop.
That's when I found that out, I was so mad.
I used to see the little things, the little advertisers with her, and I'm like, that's not no little kid cartoon to me. It just don't look the same.
And they don't even look the same. Like,
but the fact that the skin was white, yes, compared to what it should have been representative of this young lady here.
Which should imply a lot, people. Just like many other things. Let me just keep going, because you know what?
No, you got it. This is good stuff.
Number 34, Kathy Williams was enslaved, disguised herself as a man to serve in the U.S. Army after the Civil War. I don't know what sis was thinking about, but I'm not doing it. Anyway, number 35, Ralph, am I pronouncing his last name right? Bunch?
Wait, Ralph Bunch.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Ralph Bunch, okay. Was the first person of color and the first African American to receive a Nobel Peace Prize.
Yeah. Now, can I
This
tell you? Scroll back down a little bit just so I can show you. All right.
this way? Okay.
Yes. Disguised herself as a man to serve in the U.S. Army after the Civil War. She didn't want to serve. Do you know how desperate? You see what I mean? Like people were doing things desperately, just to go unnoticed. So we need, as free people, to be very appreciative of that.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
crazy. I don't even know if appreciative is the correct
No,
word.
no, of the freeness. Like
Yeah, just be, yeah, no,
we're
I got
not forced. We don't
you. I
have
got you.
women that have to dress up
Yeah.
to get out of, I mean, because
But I
in
guess
slave,
I'm speaking from we never should have had that in the
no,
first
never should have.
place.
Yeah,
It just
that's
blows
what you
my
should
mind
say.
that this stuff was actually happening. It's just so it's so
Danielle,
crazy. I'm like not
I
even
hate,
kidding. It just blows my mind.
I just don't
Like
want to
it blows
see.
my mind that so many people are okay with this back then. I mean, I know there was so many that weren't, but it was so many that
Yeah,
were where it made it a reality. It's
it was
just
the standard. That's how they lived.
mind-boggling.
That's why people need to read, because they need to realize where we are now is so important.
Correct. Correct. Yeah, so Bunch, he was a diplomat and political scientist, began working with the United Nations as early as 1944 as the form of the coalition began to become clear in the waning days of World War II. He, along
Mhm.
with Eleanor Roosevelt, was responsible for the creation of 1948's Universal Declaration of Human Rights. His Nobel Prize was given in recognition of his work against the Arab-Israeli conflict in the late 1940s. Bunch was the UN's chief mediator for the conflict and negotiated the 1949 Armistice Agreements. The following year, he was awarded the Nobel Peace Prize. That's crazy.
Isn't that? And the thing
Yeah,
that I love about that is it takes a very smart and patient person to be the head of that, to oversee, to be the chief mediator. It takes a very smooth, methodical, active listener to be able to run something like that.
indeed, indeed. That's a proud moment there. 36. Harriet Tubman was the first woman to lead a U.S. military operation. In 1863, Tubman led a regiment in the raid on Combahee Ferry.
Hmm.
Tubman planned and carried out the attack, which freed some 750 enslaved people and laid waste the Confederates' encampment. Now, one of the strongest memories I remember reading an article about her is that she said even some people even some slaves she had to leave behind because in their mind they weren't free.
Mm-mm.
Like even if she would have freed them mentally, they
They
just weren't.
weren't.
And that still applies in 2023.
Yes, it does. Yes, it does. Fully.
That's the crazy part. That's the unfortunate part, I should say. 37. Ida B. I'm almost done.
Ida B.
Hang in there with
Wells.
me.
Oh,
Yeah.
I'm not worried. Come on, let's go.
Anti-lynching pamphlets helped usher in a new era of journalism. Do you know how brave she had to be?
She had projects named after her. Ida B. Wells. Ida B's. That's what in Chicago. I'm gonna tell you, man. These people are. What I love is that they are normal, but these people are extraordinary people.
Yeah.
Like what their struggle of going through and what their accomplishments were, during that time. It is mind-boggling. The time itself is mind-boggling, because right
The
now our
level
children have
of
it easy.
stress, right? Yeah. Like I'm really trying to, when I read this information, because I didn't pre-read this before I did the show, I wanted to be shocked and have a real response to this information. As I'm reading it, I'm really trying to embody the emotion, even the smells, the fear, the stress, like all of this. I can only imagine. I can only imagine what most people live through day in and day out, just trying to live a normal living, like a normal life. It to me it's so sad and it's so strange all in one. So in 1892, pamphlet detailing lynching accounts throughout the United States and how those lynchings were enacted to punish Black people who threaten white power structures. Her investigative journalism gave rise to new mythology. So, because of her, right? Because of her, the attention, there was already attention on the lynching, of course, but it gave you a better understanding as to where this was happening, why this was happening, the source of why it's happening. Like, it just gives you a better understanding. And then it also helps you to solve the problem itself. What kind of laws can we implement for protection? This is crazy.
Mm-hmm. It is.
Number 38, Jackie Robinson's brother was also an elite athlete. We don't have a picture, so I'll move past that. 39, Thurgood Marshall's journey to the Supreme Court began as a child. It says here that Marshall's parents emphasized the importance of education, the Constitution, and the rule of law. His father, a railroad porter, took Thurgood and his brother to watch court cases in their hometown. You were saying something. I'm sorry.
No, I was just saying a railroad porter because my grandfather was one of the first Pullman porters.
Oh wow!
Mm-hmm.
You know your history. That's awesome. That is awesome.
Thank you.
Good that you know that too. Number 40, Lincoln University was the first historically Black university to grant degrees in the United States. Still in operation today. It's a small public university in Pennsylvania. Recently made headlines after Mackenzie Scott donated $20 million to the school. Wow.
Mm-hmm.
So it says Lincoln welcomed its first students in 1854. Many prominent thinkers and creators have walked its halls, including Medal of Honor recipient and Civil War veteran Christian Fleetwood, class of 1860, poet Langston Hughes, class of 1929, and Thurgood Marshall, the first Black justice of the Supreme Court, class of 1930. And guys, it was such an honor to wrap up those 40 facts about Black history that you might not know. I know I didn't know a lot.
There's a lot of stuff I knew, but there was a lot of stuff I didn't, and which means that, it's always great to learn something new every day.
Yeah, most definitely. And I just want to thank you, Stephen, for being here, telling us your truth today, giving us so much helpful advice and insight, as well as sharing the video commercial of you with Michael Jordan. That's huge. That's worth so much money. I was just laughing away. That's a big deal. And thank you for sharing some of your family lineage and some of the successes that you guys are currently, presently, and past experiencing today. Yeah. I think it's pretty neat, And I want to know, do you have any final words for the audience today?
Absolutely. We're moving into an arena of cryptocurrency with the blockchain technology, which I think is great. And what I think is we most certainly need to band together and look out for each other when we're learning about how to utilize it and how to take care of our older community, because it's going to benefit all of us, and we have to take a stance right there, and we have to not be overlooked. I do not want us to be overlooked. I'm so tired of all of the one examples in a row of when we're just downtrodden, just oppressed and downtrodden, just kicked while we're down. I don't want to see that anymore. I want us to rise up, and let everything, brush your shoulder off. It can't affect you. Don't let my father's always says, don't let anyone see you sweat, and don't let anyone take your sunshine away. And that's what I encourage us, out here to do. Read and do not, believe everything you hear, and always cross-reference everything you read, just to make sure that you are covering factual information, because you do not want to spread non-factual information to other people. And we as a people have to stop being, so downtrodden and so focused on the wrong things, and focus on what's at hand, which is our education and these grants, the Pell Grant, things that the forgiveness, tuition forgiveness. Get a job, if you have the job, and ask them if they'll cover your tuition or reimburse you. These things put money back in our pocket, which is real things. We need to get life insurance. We need to get custom whole life insurance, paid 2 policies, and really get a good hobby that gives back to the community. you know, and help out some of these Oprahs and Michaels that are doing it all by themselves for so long. You know, help them out, get into that group so we could take the burden and the strain off of them and cure hunger in this country.
Thank you so much for speaking to some of the obvious things that we need to be doing, but it's not so obvious to everyone. So thank you for just reminding us of how to prioritize, literally how to prioritize. So, you know, before I go, I'm going to play a clip to my movie trailer. I want you guys to check it out. It's called Nella. And I just want to say happy Black History Month, guys. Like, we've gone through so much, and the people that are alive and well today, you do have a purpose in your life. And I really do encourage that you find out what that purpose is and you start working diligently towards it, because we are here for a reason. Make your time count. You can be here today, gone tomorrow. Cliche saying, but it's so very true. Make sure that you're giving time to yourself. You're paying homage to those who have paved the way for you. And if you have a family, give them the time and love that they deserve, including yourself. Because if you don't have anything left, you won't have anything to give. And with that being said, I will see you guys next Sunday. I want to thank you, Stephen Turner, for being a guest on today's show. Again, in case you guys missed it, today's topic was progression, the truth unfolded. And we did 40 unknown truths about Black history today with a little sauce in it, you know, in between. We talked about a little bit of everything, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. And this is probably the longest podcast I've ever done. But it was well worth it. Thank you guys for tuning in. Guys, make sure that you like, comment, and share this video. Make sure that you support Stephen. Don't stalk him, but support him. There's a difference. And I want to thank you guys, as always, for tuning into the Sister Talk podcast. Please wait on me for 5 minutes, Stephen, behind the scenes. Okay. I know you've been here long enough, but...
Oh, no, girl, I got time. Go ahead.
Okay. Join us next week. We're going to be talking about a very hot topic. We're going to be talking about how to identify a high value man, because this whole narrative about what high value means, it needs to be discussed. We need to know if women really know what they're talking about. We need to know if the men know what they're talking about. What is real high value? We don't know, but we'll find out. And I'll let you guys know who the special guest is real soon. Thank you guys for tuning in to the Sisters Talk podcast. And until next time, be blessed.